States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Draw for prayer, please. Lord, we give thanks for this opportunity to serve those patrons who have entrusted their community into our hands. We just ask that you help give us the wisdom and ability to make good and proper decisions that will benefit the community as a whole. Yes, these things in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Rick. Did we get a chance to look at the agenda? For questions, look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Hunter.
Second.
Second by Brent. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, we invite any of the citizens who would like to come up and speak. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address, and then discuss what you'd like to. Hello.
Hi, Becky Cole, owner of Mrs. Cole's Tropical Snow. And I'm here because I have submitted a request to block off part of Santa Fe on Saturday so we can have a customer appreciation event. I think that's not a problem, but what I also requested was to block off 4 parking spaces directly in front of my store, just because I'm concerned that with us serving out of the window, that is going to congest people, and that people coming and going from those spaces might be a safety issue if there's a crowd on the sidewalk. So that's the part that's been up in the air. And then I am having at least 1 food truck that's confirmed. The other one, last I knew, hasn't got their permit in yet. There will be a little bit of live music. It's not amplified by any means. So with that being said, if I need additional insurance coverage, let me know. My insurance agent, Shelter, they've already been made aware of it. They can add a certificate to what I already have, but I already have $2 million in liability.
Okay.
So that's what I want.
Okay, well, we'll follow up with the city staff and we'll get back with you, make sure.
And
Okay.
I believe you work with Micah.
I am
on
working
the
with Micah,
special
yes.
event. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what we've gone back and forth. Is this an event? Is this just a street closure? What exactly do I need in writing to do what I want to do? Is from 4 to 8 on Saturday.
And there's 1 food truck, or was there
One has
point I thought there
confirmed
was
and
3?
submitted their permit. The other one has only verbally confirmed, but last I knew they still haven't submitted their permit. So hopefully they'll get that in. If not, I'll just have 1 food truck. You know, as far as the road blockage, it's just from Santa Fe to the alley. So as far as the parking on Linear Trail, it only takes up about 4 spaces, which typically my staff parks there. So it's not really losing any parking spaces on Santa Fe. Because I know that was a concern too, because apparently there's a private event at the pavilion, so they're concerned about parking as well. So all I want is 4 spaces in front of my store. And if my staff has to park there so that nobody is coming and going, that's what I'll do.
The main concern was the logistics of the food trucks and the people related to the food trucks and pedestrian activity on Main.
When's the event?
Saturday.
Okay, so you need done quickly.
So yeah,
Which
and
I
again, I
started the
haven't
process
received.
a couple weeks ago, just so you know.
I haven't received any special event permit, so I only know what I learned this morning.
Okay.
Other than Micah and I discussed it last week, and the concern was, in fact, we brought up doing a special events permit because I think the initial proposal was just to shut down Santa Fe. We said, well, if you're having as many people as you say, why don't you get a special events permit and just kind of make it an L shape to block off? But with the number of food trucks and everything, you might want to consider making certain that the pedestrian access to the through traffic way is limited or restricted. And that was why, when we started looking at the number of people in the van, that a permit at least might be, in order. And with $2 million, that's not an issue according to the.
So, to speed the process.
You can approve it now if you want. I mean, I'll defer to the city attorney, but you can waive whatever policy you want to waive and allow whatever you want to allow, so long as it's not conflicting with an ordinance that requires publication, which this is not.
Does the
neighboring businesses have to be contacted, or do they not?
I've talked to the salon, and as far as my section is all under the same landlord, so the landlord has been made aware. Javen Brown Construction has been made aware, which is also the space next to me. He doesn't have regular business hours, so.
So the motion
not a
would be to
problem.
waive the city permit fees or requirements and just allow them to have the 4 spots and block off Santa Fe from Main to the alley, right?
That's all I want.
And you're already working on it right now, right?
Well,
I submitted the application.
But it kind of puts
for
liability
the
back on them.
road
If it has to
closure.
be a permit,
Okay.
a fee, and then we can just motion to approve it.
It's been a ping pong game.
Okay,
Right.
well,
Santa Fe's been approved at the staff level because that's what's allowed.
okay,
The road closure of Main requires council approval.
okay.
It's
Just
not-
4
it's
parking
just-
spots.
Yeah, just the parking spaces. The traffic can
Well-
still go through.
For the sake of it, I'll make the motion, 4 spots, for the same thing.
Just close it down. And no permit required.
Yes.
Motion by Hunter,
Second.
second by Sarah. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kind of went out of order there, but get things out of order. Anyone else?
Board. Hi. My name's Jim Milligan. I live at 1217 North Lake Edge Drive. And as all of you are probably aware, our governor wants to keep our kids out of school for 3 weeks. And I know you guys have no control over that at all, but as my most local representatives, and as some of you, I'm pretty sure, probably have kids yourself, I would urge you to contact our local school board rep and urge him to not go along with Governor Kelly and to have our kids start school when they're ready to start school. And I also wanted to bring up a few weeks ago, the library board was turned down for getting additional funds. I had come to the meeting to speak up for the board, to speak up to get those approved. There were so many other people being very eloquent. I didn't say anything, but I wish I would have. So now I'm saying that now. I hope you guys can reconsider now or in the future. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
What is Justin doing? This here in the school board?
I'm sure they'll go along with the state
They'll
because
go with
they hold the
what
funding, so
Kansas
that's
schools
the important
board
I think
says.
the Board of Education still has the road, which is.
Okay.
Anyone else? Close this portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and Council, this is just appointments for the library board. First, we have Lisa Bouts. I'll go ahead and put her biography up for everybody to read, and April has anything to add? April's figured out.
Lisa's been treasurer for the last 4 years, but she's actually just been board member now, but she's the library's very important to her and her family, and she's very dedicated to the libraries.
Then number 2 will be Stephanie Mount. And I believe she's starting her first 4-year term.
Yeah. And her and her family spend a lot of time at the library as well. It's very important to them, so she'll make a great addition.
Any other questions or anything? Look for a motion to approve the 2 members.
Motion to approve Lisa Phelps for reappointment and Stephanie Mount for new appointment.
Moved by Sarah.
Second.
Second by Hunter. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. It's good to see a lot of volunteers stepping up to help the library.
You can sit from here if you want. Members of the council, I'm This is kind of unusual because, as you guys know, Detective McCann has submitted her resignation effective the 29th, and then a couple of you replied to that. And so I wish we had done this sooner, but I'm gonna kind of get around to it. Interesting thing about Kelsey is that she was graduating the academy shortly after I got here. So I didn't hire her, but she was the first one I got to swear in as a police officer, and that was kind of a cool thing for me. And I recognized something about Kelsey pretty early on, that she had this kind of innate ability to listen to people and talk to people. And I know I told Sergeant Circle and Captain Beaver at the time that she had a lot of real potential. She'd make a great detective at some point, and that opportunity presented itself a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago. And if you've been around Kelsey, you know that she just kind of works stuff out sometimes. And so I called her in the office and I said, "Look, I need you to do something." And it wasn't one of those ask things. It was, "Here's what you're going to do." So it was kind of voluntold. And even though she was a fairly new officer, I was impressed with what I'd seen, and we had to fill that position. And I said, I need you to take this detective spot. And she kind of stood there for a minute and looked at me, and she goes, "Have you lost your mind?" And I'm like,
whack job was the one.
yeah, it was something I was trying to down. And that was the start of something very interesting. And I kind of convinced her that she had the ability to do it, and she proved that we were right. She's had the opportunity to work some very complex cases. Even this morning, I sat and listened to her interviewing a lady for, probably an hour, and she sat there and listened when I would have probably gotten up and walked out way before that. So Sergeant Circle, I'm going to read you the memo that requesting the award that Kelsey's going to get tonight. It's from Sergeant Circle, her supervisor. Detective Kelsey McCann became a police officer with the Goddard Police Department on April 17, 2017. McCann excelled in the role and quickly distinguished herself as a dedicated and hardworking employee. Officer Kelsey McCann was reassigned as the department's leading detective on December 8, 2018. Although apprehensive, that's an understatement, McCann accepted this position with great tenacity and drive. Detective McCann truly excelled in this position despite having very limited time as a patrol officer. During her time as a detective, she was assigned multiple complex and very challenging cases. She worked each case with the utmost professionalism and determination. Detective McCann showed true respect and dignity to all crime victims who was a model representative for the department. Detective McCann made other law enforcement agencies include the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office. Detective McCann made a special effort to maintain a great working relationship between our department and members of other law enforcement agencies, to include the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office. She received many compliments on professionalism, work quality, and specifically from Sedgwick County District Attorney Mark Bennett, other charging attorneys, and other area law enforcement agency officers. Because of Detective McCann's abilities and work quality, a Medal of Merit is being awarded to her effective today. So Kelsey, why don't you come up here for a second? Got a copy of the citation. Is it working?
This is ridiculous.
There's your medal, and then that would go on your uniform had you continue to still wear one. But that'll be something for you to at least hang on to with your treasures and your Goddard Police Department.
Thank you. That's amazing.
You want to say anything?
Just thank you for letting me be part of the team for so long. Thank you for being such a great mentor, and I cherish our relationship. You know that. I've learned a lot, and I very much appreciate the time and the kindness you all show. Thank you, sir.
Well, let's stand over here, sir. You want to hold up the memo?
Oh, yeah.
You want to wear it?
Yeah.
So she's leaving us at a time when law enforcement, quite honestly, needs more Kelseys. It is going to be kind of a big loss for us, but we wish her the best in her future endeavors, and hope that she won't be a stranger. So, thank you. Thanks again for your service.
Thank you.
for the consent agenda. I had a couple questions on the finances. I was talking to Ryan about like $10,000 for the fee. Is that included in what we borrow?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
the issuance fees, which we use as part of the,
Like, do we see that on the front end or like?
no, that goes in and will eventually be assessed on the back end.
Okay.
So like what we're doing this evening, that the issuance fees for those notes are included in that,
Okay.
as well as.
Okay. And then on the Orkin, I was just saying, if moving in the future, I do know other termite companies that are probably cheaper than that. Usually my termite treatments on a house, it's like $700 to $800. So I would think on a commercial building might be $1,200 at the most. So if you guys ever have needs for that, let me know. I've got like 3 companies that would probably be a lot more competitive than that. And then I just was asking Matt earlier, like on the credit card receipt, if we could start getting the credit card payment, if we could start getting a copy of that statement. I don't think account financials.
Yeah.
I guess one more thing I did see, that the Rex Fleet Universal, what was that?
That's our fuel card.
Okay.
Because we used
So
to,
there's
if
one
you
diesel and
remember,
there's that.
we used to go with the school district and then
Right.
they said that they could no longer do that. And so we get essentially a nationwide fleet bulk rate.
Okay. All right, that's the question I have. Anybody else have any questions over the accounts payable or anything? If not, look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So motion?
Motion by Michael,
Second.
second by Hunter. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Item 1, St. Andrews Special Assessment Rule.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and Council, this is a two-part agenda item. The first will be the assessment hearing, and then the second would be the ordinance upon completion of the hearing, which would be G.1A. In your agenda packet, it's for ease of digital space. It's all one agenda report, but for tonight's purpose, it's G1 and G1A. The developer petitioned the city back in 2017 for these improvements. The governing body adopted Resolution 1703 and 1704 for the water main improvement and the paving improvements. The resolution was published in the April 6, 2017 Times Sentinel as our official paper of record. Resolution 1708 was unanimously approved in June of 2017 for the issuance of those notes. The cost of the improvement equates evenly to $12,930.72 per lot for the 53 lots. And so for the purpose of this evening now, it will be up to the mayor and the board to open the public hearing to receive any official comments. To date, no written comments have been received at City Hall, and we have not fielded any inquiries from the public on this action.
That look for a, do I just need to have a motion to open public hearing or is it open?
You can open the
Okay. At this time, we'll open the public hearing for the purpose of receiving oral and written objections.
Hello, I'm kind of new to this. I just moved into the St. Andrews neighborhood. I live at 2409 East Summerwood Circle. Just moved in about 3 months ago and got this letter in the mail. Kind of surprised me because all of my documentation called out my specials, and I am suddenly being presented with another $12,000. I guess I could understand if this hadn't been addressed, but all the lots had been accounted for at that time. I don't understand why I'm just now hearing about this after closing on my home. So I don't agree that this should be included in ours. I think the builder should have accounted for this long before now. I don't know, beyond that, that's
Do you have specials on your house now?
I do, yes, and I have paperwork to
What do you currently, what's the total amount?
Shows 427 a year.
And what's the total specials?
I'd have to find that document in here.
It's probably like,
8 years,
yeah.
9.
Okay.
Around there.
So, when you built in that neighborhood, well, I live in the same neighborhood too, did the realtor or developers sign anything about upcoming specials for you? Because that's their responsibility to disclose that to you.
I would have to look back through. It was never
Yeah.
presented to me. If it was something hidden in the documentation, I'd
Yeah.
have to look for it, but it was not mentioned outright.
Yeah.
I was told that my specials would be included in my loan documentation, and I have that, but
Right.
this is above and beyond. So.
Well, I could speak, I know the kind of going trend right now is what we're doing for other builders, is we're pulling out the loans ahead of time, giving them the money to do the development, and then people that move in there don't pay specials for 2 years, and then they get assessed for everybody. So, and I can say, and I know it's not good to hear, but you're saving a lot more money in these new neighborhoods because they're about 190 a month, 190 to 240, and these are substantially under that. But I mean, we don't have a choice but to put the specials on there because the city of Hull would have to pay for them instead of.
No, I get that, but I guess I feel like it should be pushed back on the builder as well because this is fairly late in the game, in my
Right.
opinion.
Well, and it's their job to disclose it to you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they didn't disclose it to you, that's kind of on theirs. But I mean, we still have to assess the specials.
Right.
No matter what. But I mean,
I'd talk to your agent if I were you.
Yeah.
They didn't try to communicate that the best.
I'll reach out to them.
Okay.
Do you have, because so you're saying you've already been paying the $427 per year? Like
It's
when
all,
you get your tax?
that's called out on my documentation in here. And I'm like I say, I've only been in for 3 months.
The
Oh, 3 months.
stormwater-
Yeah, I've only been at the house for 3
Okay.
months. I closed in April.
The
Okay.
stormwater and everything else pre-existing, the sanitary sewer and water mains, with the exception of the 8-inch distribution down, was essentially the developer had borne those costs on those lots until those lots sold. And there is a statute that does require the disclosure and closing of these outstanding improvements, which are the paving and the 8-inch water line that extended from that primary main in the subdivision.
yeah, I'm sorry you didn't get disclose that, but I mean, hope to know that you're still saving money compared to these new neighborhoods. 'Cause
Right.
They're running in like $30,000 plus on total specials, and I think you'd be probably total under 20,000.
And the interest rate on special assessments, because it's the full faith and credit of the entire city, is significantly less than the commercial. So if it were on the cost of the lot, you're gonna be paying right around 3.5% on it, as opposed to approximately 1.5% or so.
Okay.
What was your name, sir?
Josh McFadden.
Also, there's typically like a certificate of petition that gets filed when they record the plat and such, stating that, you know, these lots are subject to sewer, water, street, special assessments. You might look for that in your title work. It's called a certificate of petition that they typically file
Okay.
with those, so.
I guess it'd be nice for the builders to be a little more explicit about that. I'm one of the last ones to build in the neighborhood, so
And we could
to
make
be
sure on
surprised
the
by
future
that.
developments that they make sure they disclose it, but you know, that's their liability. And I'm a realtor as well. I've sold for 20 years. And I've seen lawsuits come down where specials sneak up on like existing neighborhoods and like if they didn't get disclosed or if they knew about it, if you can prove they knew about it, there's liability.
Right.
But, yeah, it's just unfortunate that you didn't get it explained to you right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Sorry, I can't talk.
That's all right.
I'm Leslie Truth. I am at 938 North St. Andrew Court. We have lived there for, it's July, 15 months, and we knew nothing about this. We've been paying specials. I just asked my husband how much it was because he couldn't find it. It's $1,200 a year. My question is, what does this mean? Because the roads were there, the sewage was there when we moved in, and now all of a sudden you guys are sending us these letters saying, oh, by the way, you get to pay this much more, and we're trying to figure out, do we just move? Do we just leave? Because this is, it's not been a good experience from day one with St. Andrews, and so we want to know how much is this going to add. I've heard oh, it'll be a few dollars a month onto your specials. Is that what it'd be? 54. And then I've heard it'll be $54 a month, so we're gonna be jumping up to $150 a month.
What did you say your address was?
938 North St. Andrew Court.
93.
Yes.
Because that
53.
is that part of phase 4?
Do you want my lot?
Yeah.
It is Block A, Lot 34.
Of which edition? Does it say like
Whatever the
third-
letter is, I don't
Or does it
know.
say third, St. Andrew's 3rd or 4th?
4th edition.
I'm assuming it's 4th
Okay.
edition.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I could speak, I mean, I've lived there and specials have been all over the place. Like, when I moved there, my specials were like $673 a year. It was the first development that stayed that way. And then I think a new development came in and theirs were like 20 or 30,000. And then another one came in that was no special. So, I mean, I can see where it's been sporadic, but I think the developers covered up some of the costs and rolled, you know, part of the other neighborhoods have paid for yours, the way I understand it. And then the reason you're just seeing it now, because we have them as temporary notes. And once they become full or once they're due, that's when we reassess them. So it's able for the developer to sell the houses if he's not paying on the specials for 2 years before he sells the lots.
But it's completely okay for them to just bring
They're
it
supposed
on
to
us.
disclose it. That's a liability thing with you and the developer. If they knew about these coming up, it's up to them. We were gonna do it no matter what. It's not our job to disclose it to you. It's their job to disclose what, because they know those fees are coming on there. To be fully the realtor and developer builders.
Blake Brown, 910 North St. Andrew Court. So obviously, same thing here. So the documentation that my wife and I signed, beginning 2014, ending 2033, for the sanitary sewer, it's $2,442.27. Stormwater drain, $3,849.79, totaling $6,292.06. So is this 12,000?
It's the water line and the.
Is this on top of the?
Yeah.
Okay, because yeah, they never disclosed that, and we built with Comfort.
Right.
They built with Klossmeyer. So is this something that we need to take the developer to court over?
If you didn't get disclosed, you've got to prove that you didn't disclose. You've got to prove that they know it, that they should have known it, right? I mean, there's documentation. That they know
Yeah.
it.
So I mean, you guys have a documentation that they know it, obviously, right?
And your realtor as well should be aware of
These are
both the
their-
existing and the pending.
The agent
Well, it's
that
not
was
even your
still in
realtor,
the
it's
house.
It would be
like,
the
listing agent.
who's-
Right.
Yeah,
Whoever
yeah.
worked for the builder developer.
Michelle Crouch. So is all of that documentation online to where we can access it to compile and?
I think you could just request when the first temp
It
note
should,
come out.
yeah, it should be in the Register of Deeds as well, right?
Well, just email city staff and the city staff should go and find it and have it ready to email you guys
Yeah.
whatever you need.
City staff.
When it first came out, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, let me know if you don't get it, but yeah, they should be able to just
Do
pull
they-
the email when we did the normal general bond,
Do they know what email to get? I mean, so they can
Right,
actually.
when you guys issued the notes for the first time, can you get that for them?
Well, and that's all in the staff report, so if they go to the agenda meeting for this evening, and then you can go back and double from there, roll to the reference April of 2017, April
On
6th
this
of
item, on
2017.
G1?
Yes, sir. So April 4th of 2017, the council approved the Elk Ridge improvements.
Singing.
I'm sorry, yes.
Do they have a date on there?
Well, yeah, it's April 4th,
Okay, April 4th of what year?
2017.
Yeah, that should get you started, I guess, just reach out to city staff if you have any questions, but I'm sorry you guys went through that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Close the hearing.
There needs to be a motion and a second to close.
Okay. Motion to close the hearing, somebody?
Motion closed.
Second.
Motion by Michael, second by Sarah. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Now is the ordinance affecting the assessments. which again, April 4th is when the improvements were authorized by resolution, April 4th of 2017, with the final cost being set and the public hearing for tonight set on July 6th at the last meeting. And you just recently completed the public hearing on G1. And this ordinance levies the assessments, which is in your attachment, the draft ordinance and the synopsis in the analysis portion of this staff report. Payment must be made within 30 days or it'll be rolled over and assessed, which is August 21st of 2020, and then directs city clerk to issue the assessments within 3 days by USPS. Failure to assess means the city at large is responsible for carrying the cost of the issuance. The document's been drafted by our bond attorney, Kevin Cowan, and reviewed by City Attorney Ryan Titus DePorn. Are there any questions over the contents of the staff report and the ordinance? If not, the procedure is to waive the reading of the ordinance with a voice vote and then consider the ordinance by roll call.
Motion to waive the reading.
Motion by Hunter,
Second.
second by Michael. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to consider ordinance? Yeah. No?
Yeah, motion to consider. We need a motion to consider, I'm sorry.
Motion to consider the ordinance.
Motion by Brent,
Second.
second by Sarah. All those in favor, roll call.
Councilmember Larkin.
Aye.
Councilmember Zimmerman. Councilmember Leland.
Aye.
Councilmember Trailer.
Aye.
Councilmember Proctor.
Aye.
And again, to you guys that didn't get disclosed properly or whatever, if you need anything from the city, please reach out or reach out to me and be able to help you whatever we can on our side.
Just gonna hold another public hearing for adoption of the 2021 budget. We're maintaining the same mill levy we adopted last year, 33.230 mills. 1 mill, that should be 46, the valuation should be $46,897,000. Basically a homeowner with $200,000 home would pay $764 in city property taxes. The total levy is that $1,550,000 total levy property taxes across the general fund, bond interest and library fund. This is just a graph showing the red line is our mill levy back to 2015. The blue bars are our assessed valuation. You see it's continuing to go up every year. This is the budget, all the major funds that we're budgeting, revenues, expenditures for each. We've seen this all leading up to tonight already. If you have any questions, please ask, and I'll pull out whatever documentation you need to look at. This is the total budget for all funds. This is by fund type, not by individual funds. So the first column here is general fund. Second is debt service, one interest fund. Special revenue funds, property tax supported, this is essentially the library. Non-property tax supported, this is the street fund and our tourism promotion fund and our Parks and Rec fund, and the enterprise funds here on the end are water and sewer funds. And I started putting together this table several years ago when we started applying for the Government Finance Officers Association Budget Award, which we have received 6 years in a row now. FYI, very proud of myself for that. And this is the budget summary that's published in the Times Sentinel as per requirement to hold a public hearing. It basically shows that we're maintaining our mill levy, and it shows the total appropriation. This is the certificate that I'll have you sign tonight if you approve the budget tonight. Anyway, we need a motion to, or we need to open the public hearing, for an opportunity for citizens to comment, and then close it and we can adopt by simple majority.
Okay, look for motion to open the public hearing for the budget.
Make that motion.
Motion by Larry,
Second.
second by Brent, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody want to speak about the budget? Look for motion to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion by Larry, second by Hunter, all those in favor?
Aye.
Then motion to approve the budget.
Motion to approve the budget. Second.
Motion by Brent, second by Mike, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Motion carries. Thank
I'm
you.
passing 2 copies of the budget certificate. Everybody can just sign it on one of the lines at the bottom. All I need is a signature.
And you're about a month ahead of schedule on this, aren't you?
We like, so the final day to adopt, final day to hold the public hearing is August 15th. And last day to get it to the county clerk is the August 25th. So we always do it early because they've moved up some of their timing because of some of the requirements now for the tax lid. So they've gotten us the information earlier, so we just want to get it done with faster in case they're.
Yeah.
So we signed both?
Yeah, we take 2 copies, sorry. So we've moved up the calendar a little bit. Also, it's just, you know, we maintain a flat mill levy for, I think we've hit a flat mill levy since we got the approval for the city sales tax, which was in 2014. So the process is very hard. The accounting stuff is hard to put together and time consuming to put together. But, you know, we've pretty much stayed the course these last 4 or 5 years. So it's a simple process once you get all the grunt work, which is building spreadsheets and things like that lined up. And, you know, the one the one hiccup I had this year was we've already started to see a decline in fuel taxes, revenue from the state highway fund.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, fortunately, we had a very large fund balance in our street fund, so we have more. You know, we have more cash. We have more cash on hand in the street fund than we have budget for. So, for now, it's not going to hurt us. But depending on what the state does with the fuel tax disbursements, we might have an issue there going in the future.
And before I get into the new business portion, just to reiterate the discussion that we had regarding the special assessments, bond council states that the Kansas statutes 12-6A as an alpha 20 as essentially requires that a notification of the pending special assessments, and also that we're required by law, and we do, through our bond attorney and financial advisor, Stiefel, notify and record with the Register of Deeds each resolution that creates that benefit district. So when we stated that it does go to the Register of Deeds, that's the statutory provision that allows or requires that.
Could you, like I said, could you have staff maybe look up people's names that just like go to us and mail them whatever? Like,
yeah,
it's just so they have it.
It's 12-6A20 and 12-6A01. And those are that and the entire sections that go to it. That's been in effect since July 1st of 2003.
Okay. Well, those people already just left, so it didn't really help.
Well, we told them that it went to the Register of Deeds.
Yeah.
That's the law that requires it.
Right.
Was that COVID going to affect anything like the ad valorem tax or anything what we received?
If we were going to see a change, we should have seen it. If we were going to see any kind of budget impact for the time for the initial shutdown, we would have seen it by now. Our revenue numbers for sales tax and property tax have not changed much so far. So I've been monitoring it every month. We'll have a better. Well, see. We got the second big chunk of property tax in beginning of this month, And it's about in line with what we received at this point during the year. It's over 94% of our total appropriation. So I haven't seen anything on property tax. I haven't seen anything on sales tax yet. Those are our two primary revenue sources, except water and sewer revenue. And those are down too, but we also have a policy in place that we're not, doing any kind of penalties.
We'll go into great detail on that here in just a second.
Shut off, so I'm sure that's played into that as well, but I don't have a great answer. I know that we're not freaking out or seeing the numbers that other places are. A lot of those cities in the Kansas City area, they halted all kinds of non-essential spending. They furloughed people. They had people working from home. They will see a bigger impact than we will, just because of I'm pretty sure most of our businesses that collect sales tax stayed open during the entire shutdown, and have stayed open so far, particularly the restaurants. And then we have a relatively high cost of living, a relatively high median income as compared to other parts of the state and other parts of Sedgwick County. So we were never going to get as big of an impact as other parts of the state will. But I can't promise that we've gone through it unscathed, but so far I haven't seen anything that should warrant us changing anything yet.
When do you get our tax distribution, the sales tax?
You get those monthly.
Monthly?
Yeah, we're either even or up slightly in county tax and city sales tax. Our county distribution for compensating use tax, which is essentially sales tax that's not collected at the point of sale, it's either collected through internet sales or sales out of county. That's flat. We've had a big increase in our city compensating use tax, but that's happened every year, and it probably went up more so this year because people were buying so much stuff from home, which is being that tax being collected online, so it's filed differently. So that's up about 50% so far for the year.
And as the agenda item H1 for the discussion of COVID-19 related utility penalties and disconnects, we'll go into some of the impacts from the shutdown and the lack of payments. The governing body directed us to postpone shutoffs until July 31st, 2020. In May, 106 residents would have been disconnected for non-payment. There are currently approximately 123 customers behind on payments. The average payment plan duration is 60 to 90 days. We're just asking, how would you like us to proceed? Because as it currently stands, the outstanding balances in June for the May consumption was 42,000, almost 43, and that is the late payment with the July billing having a delinquent balance of 58,980. When we initially did this, it was 80,000. Now tomorrow is the cutoff, so this number is going to narrow even more. But it's requested that the council, if you want to extend it, or if we want to go ahead and let it lapse, we can let it lapse. So essentially it's to extend the grace period or to take no action with the currently 123 customers set.
Can we start like disconnects, like if you don't pay your August bill, you're gonna get disconnected, and then you have, go ahead and put everyone payment plans of 90 days, so they would have to pay that portion plus their current bill. If they don't pay their current bill, then if they don't pay the agreement, they're gonna get penalized no matter what. I think.
Yes.
That's what I would think sounds the best.
So
back on track.
each month everybody gets a bill. The people in arrears, they're getting
And they have.
bill, and are they getting like contact us if you want to set up a payment plan? Are they getting?
We send a late notice and to contact City Hall if there are any questions. We
Has
have.
anybody contacted you?
Oh yeah, we get calls all the time, and in fact, that number was 80,000 prior to,
This week, and people paid over the weekend, but it was over 80,000.
So like if you haven't paid a water bill since May, you owe $300 if it's $100 a month. And if you can't pay your August $200 bill, you're gonna get assessed on the
yeah,
$100.
the concern was, and is still, even though it's gone up to 58 from 42, when that staff report agenda was written by Thatcher, it was a hockey stick. So we've kind of been stable, and then
So we just put big reminders that you won't be penalized if you agree
so
to
that
this
was the
plan.
concerning part, is the rate of change really had taken off exponentially this last month, which coincides with the use of sprinklers and the hot and heat, and so it's
Do we know
not
how-
totally
Do we know how
surprising.
many people haven't bothered contacting us at all and just sort of blew it off, or?
Yeah. 123.
I think people in Goddard, they don't like the high water bills and they don't want to pay it unless they're gonna have to pay it. penalty.
And they
I
were
would say.
told you don't have to pay it.
Right, so I can see that being half of that number right away, they probably pay it. Because they're not, they just don't want to pay extra fees, I would assume.
And just so
What's
that you
your
know,
average?
prior to the Everbridge system, the Goddard Pulse, where we send out the notifications and utilize the phone system, this was our average shut-off per month for disconnects prior to, and we had roughly 12 to 1,500 fewer customers than we have now. So even on a proportionality standpoint, even though that's 123 customers, that number is significantly less per customer base, for a total customer base than what it was.
So we're assuming it's COVID related versus just a normal thing.
I think it's probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
And we don't have a crystal ball, and unfortunately, because we're under 5,000, we don't have specific employment data captured for us. We do know that roughly 70% of our residents are considered white collar by the Census Bureau. So to what extent any of the aircraft layoffs are going to actually begin to take effect, which just this last week, all of the C-suites for Boeing and Spirit and everything said that it will hit us eventually here. So we may be addressing this. I think the idea of giving them a payment plan and just assume that it's ingrained, but have them reach out and sign the agreements, we can certainly do. It's something that is not all that unusual, like I said. And prior to this, there seemed to be a regular and persistent group that would cycle through every year on payments.
So you guys want to start charging fees and shut-offs in August and give everybody the 90-day grace period to set up payment plans, and no fees will be taken as long as they agree to the payment plan? Does that sound reasonable?
I'm okay with that. If you leave them go, then you can take advantage of it.
And that way you say, hey, there's not going to be penalties if you agree to this, get back on track. It's kind of an incentive, because otherwise we'll hit them with our fees.
If we get too far behind, you never get it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think it's just right in time.
Well, and if assuming that it's linear and that these 123 customers
All of that.
are that all 58, there are people that we're going to be sending the set-off program.
So look for a motion then for Zurich staff. To start late fees in August and have people agree to the payment plan. If they don't make payments, we'll take necessary fees and actions to get payment, I guess, right?
Well, at that point, what we're doing is the grace period ceases effective July 31st. However, a 90-day payment plan can be arranged to anybody that requests one.
And I guess no shut-offs as long as the current bill's paid for the next 4 months then?
You say wait late fees for the 90 days?
Yeah. As long as they agree to the plan or send in the form.
I believe we can do that, and if I'm
But
just
the form has
speaking
to
with
be
our
fill out pretty quick, right?
Huh?
Don't give them like 3 months to fill it.
No, they gotta send it with their August bill,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's by the
by August 20th. or whatever.
20, yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Does that give you guys clear direction?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Larry,
Second.
second by Mike, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Thank you.
And thank you to Patrick for compiling that information and working with Sarah for that, our utility bill and customer care clerk. North Park final plat. The city purchased some land there on the northeast or southwest corner of 183rd and Maple. It's intended to be developed for public space. What this does is it allows us to identify what's the city versus what's private property versus what's public easement in the roadway that's already existing there. And I want to thank Micah, who is on COVID quarantine, and our city engineer for their work on this. Here's the plat.
It's a lot more ground than we thought, isn't it? That was like 7 acres.
And here's the pond portion is obviously.
There's a lot of taken up by pond.
Yeah.
By water.
About 2 acre pond then. How much does this cost a plat, do you know, just roughly?
Plats can cost $5,000 to $15,000 depending on their complexity.
Okay.
And like I had said in a last week's staff report, I have not had any contact or conversation with one of the adjacent property owners, but Public Works, I believe, has, and he wants to entertain a offer to purchase the ground. So obviously once that is received, I'll bring it to the council for consideration, even though we just purchased it. But part of why having a plat is important is because that at least tells you exactly what the offer is and what it would be over, where if we had meets and bounds, it was a very complicated plat.
Yeah, it was such a compilation of all these different tracks, like there was at least 3 or 4 pieces that were taken from to put with this plat, so this kind of cleans it up to one plat description. And there will be, I think Micah mentioned in one of the staff reports, there will be additional easements granted by separate instrument once the city gets the final site plan and layout of everything that we need to be able to know where to extend utilities to.
And that essentially is abutting the pond area there. So it can be approve the plat as presented, and it can be done by voice vote.
Motion to approve the plat.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Hunter,
Second.
second by Sarah. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Motion carries. Thank you.
Amend the 183rd Street frontage project construction agreement with KDOT. This is kind of the history of the project going forward, but a note for this specific action. On May 20th of 2019, the project agreement was authorized by the City Council. This agreement changes one simple thing. Article 1, paragraph 19, to replace in its entirety the description of the project, which essentially now reads the relocation of West Kellogg Drive. And the estimated cost for this project is $1.7 million, with roughly 267, almost 268 of that being the local match. It is included in the 2025 project fund, and it's obviously at that higher amount for the project fund, as we were anticipating doing intersection work as well. It's now considered to be a separate project application with KDOT.
Now, is this the R-cut design that we're paying for too?
No, sir, that's completely separate, and that's part of the issue too in the initial delay on the joint intersection frontage road realignment was because of the coordination of signal, what they call an intelligent or integrated signal with the R-cut was part of that delay. So by pulling this out as a separate project, this allows us to get construction done here, or at least advertised and underway here in August or so, assuming KDOT gives us the go-ahead, which we anticipate after the adoption of this.
So is this just the frontage road, or it's the whole?
Just the frontage road.
Is there gonna be any incidentals at the bank or anything hooking them up to that new road, or?
No, and in fact, there is a reserve on the north side of the bank that's owned by Mr. Dugan for the Seasons Commercial, and that parcel is being deeded to the bank for access in and out of there.
As far as driveways and stuff like that would need to be built?
It'll be on the frontage road.
We will build their driveway, their new driveway, because we're going to close the one onto 183rd. That's KDOT's requirement.
Okay.
So it'll
we
have
can't cut in and that
right,
makes sense.
right.
And then where the frontage road is, just to the east of the current drive, that will be essentially ripped out eventually.
So it'd be just a dead-end road to go to the bank only?
Yes.
Right, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That should eliminate the interference with the traffic right there at the intersection.
Maybe look into doing some parking.
Fireworks stand gonna do.
The fireworks gonna be something.
No, will they?
They'll have to maybe do something with the pad site.
Yeah, move over a little bit.
So the recommendation for staff is to authorize the mayor for the execution of supplemental agreement number 1 with KDOT for project number 87 Kilo Alpha 5215-01. I did KA. Roger, we'll go.
For promotion to approve. Vector, supplemental agreement number 1.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Larry.
Second.
Second by Michael. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and Council, the report for this evening, I'll have a written one submitted later. We had some issues come up that I had to address. Here's the current status of the Star Bond. I anticipate receiving a pay request here for number 12 any day now. To date, we've allocated 90.3% of that project account for that. So the interior of the Star Bond, which is this side, the enclosed portion, is where that's at. This right over here will be connected to the health club, which you can kind of see the outline of the pad site, and the hotel pad site under construction here.
So like everything on the left, we don't give them any of that Star Bond proceeds?
This open space, that's part of why it's open space as well. That's separate from this portion here.
Okay.
And then obviously you have your ball fields off to the south along Linear Trail. Here's the existing parking area, and then all of this will be privately funded through the TDD and other items, but that will be again through private funds, where the public funds are essentially the existing pavement that's there and the connection to Kellogg, these ball fields, and this portion right here with these light colored pad sites, and which you can't really see, but the child care will come around and go back to the southeast around the corner of the building, and this open space is all private funds.
Do you know how many commercial lots there are?
As it's currently platted, there's a large one here, and then as the mayor said, there's 2 large 5 acres.
What about the ground that's going into that road right there? Are those lots?
That's what they're.
No,
Yeah.
that's what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
the lots essentially are right here, and then that larger lot that's, which you can't see, but it would be right here, is what this is. And then this north lot is owned by Goddard Sports, and this lot right here abutting Kellogg is owned by Goddard Destination, which was the original developer with Mr. Warner. And he still retains that one single lot.
Do they have any plans on doing any extra parking? Because I know when you got those ball games going on, the parking lot is almost full already. There's no hotel there.
Right here will be additional parking with RV parking kind of over here. And then at some point, I think there's plans down the road, or maybe with the TDD or whatever, to pave this area over here.
Have we heard from Polson Alley?
Nope, not a peep. And the other folks that would hear it are the city attorney, our bond counsel, who's here as well. We haven't had any communication. Arbor Creek, nothing really new to report at this point. There's 245 lots there with 43 in phase 1. And we've got 2.9 issued in temporary notes, and to date we've paid just under 2.3 at Arbor Creek. And then here's kind of the latest progress of the spec homes on that initial cul-de-sac with the school campus here on the south side of the bottom, of the picture. Clover Leaf, that construction's progressing with the roads in place. We've issued 2.21 in temp notes for these improvements, with 1.4 issued to date. Or I'm sorry, paid to date. Elk Ridge, this is essentially complete, so this should be the last time you see it for some time, unless we have some additional construction coming in. But we issued 830,800, and we ended up paying $659,527. Rustic Creek, nothing new to report. We had anticipated having an engineering services agreement presented this evening. We haven't heard back. We changed the format to conform with essentially what we've done for St. Andrews, Elk Ridge, Spring Hill, and so we should have that presented here hopefully in August, so that we can get moving on that. The medical lodge is complete, so this should be the last time you see anything on our senior housing.
Have we heard how they're doing on COVID? No.
Not the daily cases that I've heard.
They don't have any.
The RCUT project, we completed the plan commentary, and again, nothing new to really report on this project as it currently stands. The frontage road, I just kept this here, even though we just considered it, but this gives you a decent understanding. And then there's the pad site that we were talking about, with that frontage road kind of coming through here and bending around, and then right through here is where it'll get disconnected and eventually ripped out. And this would be reserved, that would be deeded to the bank from Seasons Commercial. Second Street project, just wanted to let you know that Public Works Director Brooke Brandenburg's been working with the contractor to get this scheduled, which runs from 199th to Main, and this was approved at the July 6th meeting, and it should begin on July 27th. I thought I'd put that in there. I apologize. But yes, July 27th, so next Monday. Oh, sorry, thanks. It'll go begin construction, and then once that repair or improvements completed, we'll assess how successful it is, and then utilize the remaining portions, or in whole or in part, to try and shore up the remaining unpaved roads. As you know, when I arrived in 2008, the road base was beneath the shoulders and it needed to be addressed, and it's something that, as we were just discussing with the special assessments for paving this evening, all the other residents have paid special assessments, and so that's kind of been the discussion with past governing bodies during my tenure here and prior to my arrival in 2008, is to what extent the public at large, if at all, would bear a portion of the cost of the roads, as opposed to the properties that are actually on that receiving the benefit. And then as we discussed in June and again in July with the city engineer, the drainage and how we coordinate that and integrate that into what we do paving wise for this area. The 119th Street valve that was approved at the last meeting, it's a non-standard size, so it required an additional order after we had the hole excavated. And so Public Works Director Brandenburg's telling us that we hope to be able to have it done or underway this week, but it's going to coordinate with wind, water. Do you have anything more to add to that, Brooke?
No, it's in the process of being shipped right now, and they do not have a delivery date. I'm hoping we can get it in the ground on Wednesday at the latest. I'm hoping.
So fingers crossed there. And then
Is that an in-house job or somebody else got to do that?
I'm sorry?
Is that an in-house repair?
We're excavating it, and what we did was we opened the hole and we measured the pipe. It's an older pipe, and as such, they took the outside diameter and ordered the valve. And what we did is clear the hole out enough so they can drop their specialized apparatus on top of that, and we keep the water main live and the water flowing, and they can insert the valve. So it's kind of a collaboration.
it's called a wet tap.
And like a lot of our infrastructure, you don't know what you got until you're down the hole, right?
Well, most of the time we do, but once in a while we get some older stuff.
Yeah.
I noticed that road, north-south road there by Park, that got some new gravel on it. Is that something that we've done?
We have been working on some of the other parts of the dirt roads, and we've dug out some of the potholes and put some gravel and whatnot in there, and I think it'll help, at least in the interim. We're gonna watch that as well and see how it wears.
Oh, I drove on it. It seems like it was a whole lot better.
Yeah, initially it is. Hopefully it stays that way. We're hoping the holes don't come
So
back.
far, it lasts about 2 to 3 weeks, but we're going to just keep hitting it until we get a resolution.
We did do this a little differently. We took the backhoe out and we actually dug the holes out. And without a grader, we're going to see it may or may not hold, but we're going to give it a shot. We'll keep working on it.
There's no way to take and tamp that in the hole so it's packed tight.
If we have tanked it, we don't have an actual roller, so the roller, we would have to rent one, but we've been packing with all the different equipment we have. So we'll see. It may or may not stay.
Some brick up there, jump up and down the hole. Seems to be more.
It's just interesting how those holes will come back easily.
Alright, Hunter?
The only thing I had was April. Have you contacted Brooke on some of the repairs that you were talking to me about a while back ago, like the window and everything?
Yeah,
Where are we?
got taken care of.
You guys have gotten it taken care of. Okay.
We've done quite a few things. Have you taken care of your list, or I don't know?
You got the one.
One more thing?
Okay.
I communicate with you.
Just making sure. All right. That's all I have.
Larry?
I think things have gone fairly well. I don't think anybody's recorded any problems with us having the pool open, have they?
I've gotten some.
I got an email today.
We all got an email.
I feel like it's not essential, and if you don't want to risk it, don't go near the pool. I think mask in a pool is not mixed very well, so. And it's not those girls' jobs to monitor it either, I don't think.
I believe they're wearing masks in the lobby and stuff.
Yeah.
Just not outside, yeah.
Not on their guard post.
Yeah.
I feel like,
It's kind of difficult to blow the whistle.
yeah.
We're not requiring city staff to wear masks if they don't want to, right?
Kind of following the guidelines.
Yeah, we're just following the guidelines. Like we've said from day one, when the mayor and I had this initial discussion, we're following the county recommendation.
And is it our intention to keep on going to the fall festival, or?
I'm going to the meeting tomorrow, and I guess that's a good question, because I think we should, and most of our outdoor activities, we're not crowding people. I don't know what you guys think. I think it's,
Well,
and National
Night
Night
Out's already been canceled, so, Lance Deagley's been the one attending on our behalf, and we're really there just to
it's too close.
offer it's not our decision. I mean, it's, I've got my personal opinion.
We're logistical support, and that's it.
That's up to the committee to decide what they want to do, and if they have it, we'll support it, and if they don't, then.
Yeah, I'll be going tomorrow. They might be asking for $6,000 to $10,000 from us for like a stage and stuff, so that's from what I've seen, just to let you guys know.
We offered them to use our stage too, they asked.
Okay. Well, they want the big
I
sound
know
stage.
that's other ratings, 2 or 3.
Yeah,
stages, so.
I think it's the sound too that's the most
Yeah.
cost of it.
Well, I guess we could always say, nobody's paid their water bill, we can't afford it.
Anything else, Larry?
Those are my
Sarah?
official recommendations.
Martha, you have anything for us?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Brett?
Nope.
Well, I mean, I guess we talked about the roads. You guys got the email today. I don't know if we could focus maybe on 3rd Street or a couple paved roads that, you know, get the black overlayment. I don't know what that's called. What's that called we go in the past?
It'd be a mastic surface
Okay,
seal.
so like, I don't know if we could do some of that and maybe just let us know what plan is for the rest of the year after you get the dirt road fixed or whatever we're gonna focus on. Cause I just had some questions about 3rd Street asking and still getting a lot of complaints on 2nd Street too from residents.
One more week.
Yeah.
Well, also, Jamie, I'm planning to transfer whatever we don't spend on streets this year into CIP so we can do it.
Right.
We can add it on for next year and do that much more.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's going to be money still available.
Right. I figured. Thank you. I guess speak on the COVID thing. Yeah, the pools I think still going to stay open. I think we all feel that, you know, the kids need something to do, and I think it's being utilized well. I think it's up to people to keep themselves safe. Sometimes I wouldn't trust some of the numbers they're putting out. I know that it made our numbers look high, the percentage, but you go from 0 to 10 people or 20 people, it's going to be different. But I think that's from where they test the people and not where they live. So I don't really know how we believe all those numbers either. So it doesn't concern me, and I see that our big businesses, you know, are requiring masks. So I don't see where Goddard's could be a hotbed as long as people practice social distancing. I know the ball fields have been somewhat of a complaint, but I feel like those parents, you know, people want to sit beside each other and talk. They're not going to sit there and ignore each other. So I mean,
You don't want to.
yeah, right. And I think if you're at risk, just stay away from the pool and the ball fields. I would say everywhere else should be protected. But I just kind of want to make a comment on that. We've had a lot of questions, and I think we still follow the Sedgwick County guidelines, but with no punishment for not wearing it. I guess because it makes it a little bit easier on everybody.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, just from a city standpoint, if somebody feels so much as, like I had said with one of our employees, Mike A, he's not like positive or anything like that. It's like, if I feel a little off, we just ask him to stay home.
Right. It's a military, that's why she
Yeah,
hasn't said
yeah, so it's that simple. It's just precautionary, and you know, I my allergies, because I've been out working in the yard, are going crazy, and so, you know, I wear one often because I literally have fits of sneezing that go for 2 or 3 minutes on end. So,
And you know, Lori has stayed home since we first shut down, and I've seen no drop off in productivity from her, from the other front office staff. They're all kicking butt. They're all here. They're all getting work done whether they're here or not. So.
Thank you. Well, that's all I have. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Motion by Hunter, second by Michael. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.